Imagine a world where everybody is connected. Imagine a world where somebody in Japan can do a transaction with somebody in the United States without high banking fees. Imagine a world no longer ruled by greedy corporate banks. There's going to become a time when we think of central banks in the same way we think about calling an operator to talk to a friend on the phone. This weird, annoying entity that came between us and the things we actually wanted. You aren't going to drown in fees anymore. You aren't going to borrow money from a bank. You aren't going to fight a half a dozen middlemen. It'll just be you and your money anywhere on Earth. And once this happens, cryptocurrency could very well make the US dollar obsolete. Once people understand how easy this is and get used to it, the demand for legacy money controlled by a government and bank is going to plummet like a rock. Welcome to the world of cryptocurrency. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another late night crypto talk this Saturday night. My name is Brandon Ivy, Bitcoin Brandon from Los Angeles, California. Go ahead and type in the chat box where you're listening in from. And as a disclaimer, I am not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share a suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. So far we've got on that is willing to say hi. Neil Brooks from Richmond, Virginia. You like that music, Neil? Fallon, happy Saturday. Teresa Carlson. James Flint from Nebraska. Marnita from Colorado. Dave from Toronto, Canada. Anita Surrey also from Toronto, Canada. Welcome, everybody. And tonight we are going to be doing the Bitcoin white paper. The Bitcoin white paper. Paul Morales, good evening. Don Marie from Laughlin, Nevada. Facebook user KT from Atlanta. Doreen Buckner from Anguilla. Kenny Taylor. Dorothy Mays from Tampa, Florida. Jacqueline McIlver. I hope I said that right. From Atlanta. Good evening. All right. Yeah, this has been an interesting day. We had our early morning crypto talk today. We went 2 hours. We covered, I didn't expect the article to be that way, but it's something that I'm going to hold on to for later use. It's a topic that you might experience. Have you ever been or are you addicted to crypto, and has it almost ruined your life? So that we covered that this morning, and I'm probably going to set that aside for a more deeper discussion about crypto addiction. It's a real thing. But tonight we're going to talk about the Bitcoin white paper. If you have either read or listened to somebody reading the Bitcoin white paper, type me in the chat box. The last time I read the Bitcoin white paper or listened to it was when I read it. I recorded myself reading it, and that might have been 3 years ago. I think so. Teresa, you just saw that replay? Great. I see Facebook user from Colorado. Facebook user says, I listened to you. Great. Who is that? Who said I listened to you? I see Doreen, you have... Yeah, I think it might have been 3 years. So to me, this is going to be like me reading it again for the first time because I've learned so much since then. And I want to see if there's anything that now I understand that I didn't understand the first couple of times around. In the early days, I read it several times before I actually recorded myself. But you guys probably know a lot more about Bitcoin right now than I did when I first read this. So I'm going to share screen, and we're going to jump right onto it. Oh, Dave. Okay, great. I see Facebook user says, hello, everyone. All right. Let me get a little something of this. Okay. Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer Let me bring my microphone down so it captures me. Here we go. Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system by Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, there might be some things I skip if it once it gets into all of the math and diagrams and stuff like that. So here we go. Yeah, Michelle, this has been timing is perfect for you. Here we go. The abstract, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash, would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution. Ooh, that just stuck out to me. He didn't say, I propose. Oh, wow. We're only 2 sentences in, and I see a clue. Have you ever written something and you're writing it and you say, we? He didn't say, I propose. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. This just gave me more appeal to that. This wasn't one individual. This was an organization or a group that did this. CIA, the MK, the British government. I don't know, but that's very telling right there. We. The longest chain not only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As long as a majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure. Messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will. Accepting the longest proof of work chain is as proof of what happened while they were gone. Introduction. Commerce in the internet has come to rely almost exclusively on financial institutions serving as trusted third parties to process electronic payments. While the system works well enough for most transactions, it still suffers from the inherent weaknesses of the trust-based model. Completely non-reversible transactions are not really possible since financial institutions cannot avoid mediating disputes. The cost of mediation increases transaction costs, limiting the minimum practical transaction size and cutting off the possibility for small casual transactions. And there is a broader cost in the loss of ability to make non-reversible payments for non-reversible services. With the possibility of reversal, the need for trust spreads. Merchants must be wary of their customers, hassling them for more information than they would otherwise need. A certain percentage of fraud is accepted as unavoidable. They call that the cost of doing business. These costs and payment uncertainties can be avoided in person by using physical currency, but no mechanism exists to make payments over a communications channel without a trusted party. And I got to warn you guys now, I'm not just reading this. I might stop, pause, share a story, go into it more detail than I did like when I recorded it on YouTube. I just read it, no commentary. But I like to give commentary. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party. Those of you guys that went through the 5-day challenge, day 2, what is a blockchain? That's what this is right here. Transactions that are computationally impractical to reverse would protect sellers from fraud, and routine escrow mechanisms could easily be implemented to protect buyers. In this paper, we propose, oh, there we go again. We Have any of you guys, if you ever did any research on who Satoshi Nakamoto, has this ever come up by reading the white paper? Again, he doesn't say, I propose a solution. He says, we propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer distributed timestamp server to generate computational proof of the chronological order of transactions. The system is secure as long as honest nodes can collectively control more CPU power than any cooperating group of attacker nodes. Number 2, we define, there we go again. I think that's the third time I see the word we. I'm going to keep a running track of that. Because we just never know. Clues. All right, so that's the third time I see the word we in here. We define an electronic coin as a chain of digital signatures. It's a Facebook user. I never noticed, but it may be just to throw everyone off. That is true. But I see a clue there. We got to note that one. We define an electronic coin as a chain of digital signatures. Each owner transfers the coin to the next by digitally signing a hash of the previous transaction and the public key of the next owner and adding these to the end of the coin. A payee can verify the transactions to verify the chain of ownership. Transaction, owner 1, public key hash, owner 0 signature. Owner 1's private key, verify sign. Okay, so this is the whole process. The problem, of course, is the payee can't verify that one of the owners did not double spend the coin. A common solution is to introduce a trusted central authority or mint that checks every transaction for double spending. After each transaction, the coin must be returned to the mint to issue a new coin, and only coins issued directly from the mint are trusted not to be double spent. The problem with this solution is that the fate of the entire money system depends on the company running the mint, with every transaction having to go through them, just like a bank. We need a way for the payee to know that the previous owners did not sign any earlier transactions. For our purposes, the earliest transaction is the one that counts, so we don't care about later attempts to double spend. The only way to confirm the absence of a transaction is to be aware of all transactions, meaning a public record of everything. In the mint-based model, the mint was aware of all transactions and decided which arrived first. To accomplish this, without a trusted party, transactions must be publicly announced. And we need a system for participants. I see the word we again. I'm not going to count that one. And we need a system for participants to agree on a single history of the order in which they were received. The payee needs proof that at the time of each transaction, the majority of nodes agreed it was the first received. Timestamp server. The solution begins with a timestamp server. A timestamp server works by taking a hash of a block of items to be timestamped and widely publishing the hash, such as in a newspaper or Usenet post. The timestamp proves that the data must have existed at the time, obviously in order to get into the hash. Each timestamp includes the previous timestamp in its hash, forming a chain, with each additional timestamp reinforcing the ones before it. Proof of work. Proof of work. That is interesting, Teresa. To implement a distributed timestamp server on a peer-to-peer basis, we will need to use a proof of work system similar to Adam Back's Hashcash, rather than newspaper or Usenet posts. The proof of work involves scanning for a value that, when hashed, such as with SHA 256, the hash begins with a number of 0 bits. The average work required is exponential in the number of 0 bits required and can be verified by executing a single hash. For our timestamp network, we implement the proof of work by incrementing a nonce in the block until a value is found that gives the block's hash the required 0 bits. Once the CPU effort has been expended to make it satisfy the proof of work, the block cannot be changed without redoing the work. As later blocks are changed after it, the work to change the block would include redoing all the blocks after it. So once it's done, it's done. The proof of work also solves the problem of determining representation in majority decision making. If the majority were based on one IP address, one vote, it could be subverted by anyone able to allocate many IPs. Proof of work is essentially one CPU, one vote. The majority decision is represented by the longest chain, which has the greatest proof of work, effort invested in it. If a majority of CPU power is controlled by honest nodes, the honest chain will grow the fastest and outpace any competing chains. To modify a past block, an attacker would have to redo the proof of work of the block and all blocks after it, and then catch up with and surpass the work of the honest nodes. We will show later that the probability of a slower attacker catching up diminishes exponentially as subsequent blocks are added. So right now we're on block, 700 and something thousand? So somebody would have to go to block 1 and manipulate that one that's already dead and gone and done, and then every single block after. So the older Bitcoin gets, the far more difficult that it can ever be hacked becomes. I did not understand that the first time I read this, but now I get it. So let's see. Number 5, network. The steps to run the network are as follows. New transactions are broadcast to all nodes. Each node collects new transactions into a block. Each node works on finding a difficult proof of work for its block. When a node finds a proof of work, it broadcasts the block to all nodes. When nodes accept the block only if all transactions in it are valid and not already spent, and nodes express their acceptance of the block by working on creating the next block in the chain using the hash and the hash of the accepted block as the previous hash. Nodes always consider the longest chain to be the correct one and will keep working on extending it. If two nodes broadcast different versions of the next block simultaneously, the nodes may receive one or the other first. In that case, they work on the first one they received, but save the other branch in case it becomes longer. The tie will be broken when the next proof of work is found and one branch becomes longer. The nodes that are working on the other branch will then switch to the longer one. New transactions broadcasts do not necessarily need to reach all nodes. As long as they reach many nodes, they will get into a block before long. Block broadcasts are also tolerant of dropped messages. If a node does not receive a block, it will request it when it receives the next block and realizes it missed one. Incentive. How do you incentivize these guys to do this if they're not getting paid? They're not getting a salary. By convention, the first transaction in a block is a special transaction that starts a new coin owned by the creator of the block. This adds an incentive for nodes to support the network and provides a way to initially distribute coins into circulation. So, in other words, in those early days, they just couldn't hand you Bitcoin. Proof of work needed to be done, meaning it had to be created. And the Bitcoin is the reward for creating the block. So this reward will grow in value, which means it adds an incentive for nodes to support the network and provides a way to initially distribute coins into circulation. Since there is no central authority to issue them, the steady addition of a constant amount of new coins is analogous to gold miners expending resources to add to circulation, to add gold to circulation. In our case, it is CPU time and electricity that is expended. Now you guys starting to see the bigger picture here. The incentive can also be funded with transaction fees if the output value of a transaction is less than its input value. The difference is a transaction fee that is added to the incentive value of the block containing the transaction. Once a predetermined number of coins have entered circulation, 21 million, the incentive can transition entirely to transaction fees and be completely inflation-free. So if somebody asks this question, well, what happens when the last Bitcoin is mined? Why would the miners continue to do it? Because their new reward will be transaction fees that they'll be splitting. And don't think that can't be lucrative. Because by the time that happens, imagine how many people in the world are doing crypto transactions on a daily basis. Think about that. All those fees add up. But you don't have to worry about inflation. The incentive may help encourage nodes to stay honest. If a greedy attacker is able to assemble more CPU power than all of the honest nodes, he would have to choose between using it to defraud people by stealing back his payments. He would have to choose between using it to defraud people. Yeah. Or using it to generate new coins. He ought to find it more profitable to play by the rules, such rules that favor him with more new coins than everyone else combined, than to undermine the system and the validity of his own wealth. Reclaiming disk space. Once the latest transaction in a coin is buried under enough blocks, the spent transactions before it can be discarded to save disk space. To facilitate this without breaking the block's hash, transactions are hashed in a Merkle tree with only the root included in the block's hash. Old blocks can then be compacted by stubbing off branches of the tree. The interior hashes do not need to be stored. A block header with no transactions will be about 80 bytes. If we suppose blocks are generated every 10 minutes, 80 bytes times 6 times 24 times 365 a year equals 4.2 megabytes per year. With computer systems typically selling with 2 gigabytes of RAM and Moore's law predicting current growth of growth of 1.2 gigabytes per year, storage should not be a problem even if the block headers must be kept in memory. This is the one problem that they have with Bitcoin, is that the memory size is not large enough. Litecoin and the others, much bigger memory size. Number 8, simplified payment verification. It is possible to verify payments without running a full network node. A user only needs to keep a copy of the block headers of the longest proof of work chain, which he can get by querying network nodes until he's convinced he has the longest chain, and obtain the Merkle branch linking the transaction to the block it's timestamped in. He can't check the transaction for himself, but by linking it to a place in the chain, he can see that a network node has accepted it and blocks added after it further confirm the network has accepted it. As such, the verification is reliable as long as honest nodes control the network, but is more vulnerable if the network is overpowered by an attacker. While network nodes can verify transactions for themselves, the simplified method can be fooled by an attacker's fabricated transactions for as long as the attacker can continue to overpower the network. One strategy to protect against this would be to accept alerts from network nodes when they detect an invalid block, prompting the now this has already happened now. So it's interesting that this is put here. One strategy to protect against this would be to accept alerts from network nodes. So that as soon as one node realizes something's off, it sounds the alarm and all of the rest pick it up. Business that receive frequent payments will probably still want to run their own nodes for more independent security and quicker verification. That's an interesting line there. Businesses that receive frequent payments in what? Frequent payments in Bitcoin will probably still want to run their own nodes for more independent security and quicker verification. I don't know, that line stuck out to me there. Number 9, combining and splitting value. Although it would be possible to handle coins individually, it would be unwieldy to make a separate transaction for every cent in a transfer. To allow value to be split and combined, transactions contain multiple inputs and outputs. Normally, there will be either a single input from a larger previous transaction or multiple inputs combining smaller amounts, and at most 2 inputs, one for the payment and one returning the change, if any, back to the sender. It should be noted that fan out, where a transaction depends on several transactions and those transactions depend on many more, it is not a problem here. There is never the need to extract a complete standalone copy of a transaction's history. Yet you don't have the need, but the blockchain is covered. Well, that's what he means there. The blockchain's got that covered. Number 10, privacy or privacy. The traditional banking model achieves a level of privacy by limiting access to information to the parties involved and the trusted third party. The necessity to announce all transactions publicly precludes this method, but privacy can still be maintained by breaking the flow of information in another place. By keeping public keys anonymous, the public can see that someone is sending an amount to someone else, but without information linking the transaction to anyone. This is similar to the level of information released by stock exchanges, where the time and size of individual trades, the tape, is made public, but without telling who the parties are. That's like the blockchain right now. You see the transaction is being recorded, but you don't know who the transaction belongs to. So a traditional privacy model, you have identities, they do transactions, it goes through a trusted third party, then it goes to the vendor who it's going to, the counterparty, but the public is outside of this. The public doesn't see your receipt at the grocery store. The new privacy model, identities, transactions, and they're all public. But you see who the blockage is here. These transactions in public have no idea who the identities are. It's the flip. As an additional firewall, a new key pair should be used for each transaction to keep them from being linked to a common owner. Some linking is still unavoidable with multi-input transactions, which necessarily reveal that their inputs were owned by the same owner. The risk is that if the owner of a key is revealed, linking could reveal other transactions that belong to the same owner. Number 11, calculations. We consider the scenario of an attacker trying to generate an alternate chain faster than the honest chain. Even if this is accomplished, it does not throw the system open to arbitrary changes, such as creating value out of thin air or taking money that never belonged to the attacker. Nodes are not going to accept an invalid transaction as payment, and honest nodes will never accept a block containing them. An attacker can only try to change one of his own transactions to take back money he recently spent. The race between the honest chain and an attacker chain can be characterized as a binomial random walk. The success event is the honest chain being extended by one block, increasing its lead by +1. And the failure event is the attacker's chain being extended by one block, reducing the gap by -1. The probability of an attacker catching up from a given deficit is analogous to a gambler's ruin problem. Suppose a gambler with unlimited credit starts at a deficit and plays potentially an infinite number of trials to try to reach break even. We can calculate the probability he ever reaches break even or that an attacker ever catches up with the honest chain as follows. Here we go with some nerd language. You guys might be able to pick this up. P equals probability an honest node finds the next block. Q equals probability the attacker finds the next block. And Q squared probability the attacker will ever catch up from Z blocks behind. Oh, we've got a scammer in the room. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Is that a scammer? Don Marie, never doubt crypto or stock. It can make you $1 million at the right path. I started trading with 1,000 in less than a week. Really? No, I'm not. No, we're not doing that today. I don't want to just hide. How do I block this user? I thought I was able to block them on here. Okay, we'll just hide it. Oh, no, not show, hide. I have to do it on the Facebook side, and I don't know which group they're in. Ruin my flow. All right. Well, I'll just give the public warning out. Aminu Sana is attempting to scam. And I am not able to, from here, block them. So just giving you guys a heads up. They're attempting to scam. Okay, so let's get back to the at hand. Do not send Bitcoin or crypto to anybody during my live or after. All right. So Q squared equals probability the attacker will ever catch up from Z blocks behind. So I don't know this math here. You guys know that how math works. The nerds of you guys will really understand this. Given our assumption that P is greater than Q, the probability drops exponentially as the number of blocks the attacker has to catch up with increases. With the odds against him, if he doesn't make a lucky lunge forward early on, his chances become vanishingly small as he falls further behind. We now consider how long the recipient of a new transaction needs to wait before being sufficiently certain the sender can't change the transaction. We assume the sender is an attacker who wants to make the recipient believe he paid him for a while, then switch it to pay back to himself after the time has passed. The receiver will be alerted when that happens, but the sender hopes it will be too late. The receiver generates a new key pair and gives the public key to the sender shortly before signing. This prevents the sender from preparing a chain of blocks ahead of time by working on it continuously until he is lucky enough to get far enough ahead, then executing the transaction at that moment. Once the transaction is sent, the dishonest sender starts working in secret on a parallel chain containing an alternate version of his transaction. The recipient waits until the transaction has been added to a block and Z blocks have been linked after it. He doesn't know the exact amount of progress the attacker has made, but assuming the honest blocks took the average expected time per block, the attacker's potential progress will be a Poisson distribution with the expected value. To get the probability the attacker could still catch up now, we multiply the Poisson density for each amount of progress he could have made by the probability he could catch up from that point. So if any of you guys, Brandon, are you Satoshi Nakamoto? Just look at this math here. Hell no. I failed calculus 3 times in college and changed my major to political science. Rearranging to avoid summing the infinite tail of the distribution. Converting to the code. Yeah, I see the trolls. Question though is, are the trolls on, let's see, are the on my personal page? Okay, so I can deal with that. I can come straight to my personal page. Here I'm live. On my personal page. Okay. So yeah, I hear myself talking. There we go. I see you now. Block. Okay. So that individual is blocked. So we should be good. All right. Oh, this, just looking at this gives me a headache. Converting to C code. So I don't know what any of this means. But if you guys are coders, you would understand this. Running some results, we can see the probability drop off exponentially with Z. Let me tell you what this means in layman's terms. Every time there's a block that's being generated, it moves the main net forward and the attacker back one. And it will be impossible for the attacker to catch up. Why? Because the attacker is working with their own little network. But the blockchain is 1 million plus individuals. So the attacker would need to have processing power more than 51% of the million people. Do you realize how expensive that move would be? It would cost billions. Billions. So that's what all of this is, what that means in layman's terms. In conclusion, we have, there's that word again. That's the 5th time I've seen it. We have proposed a system for electronic transactions without relying on trust. We started with the usual framework of coins made from digital signatures, which provides strong control of ownership, but is incomplete without a way to prevent double spending. To solve this, we proposed a peer-to-peer network using proof of work to record a public history of transactions that quickly becomes computationally impractical for an attacker to change if honest nodes control a majority of the CPU power. The network is robust in its unstructured simplicity. Nodes work all at once with little coordination. They do not need to be identified, since messages are not routed to any particular place and only need to be delivered on a best effort basis. Nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. They vote with their CPU power expressing their acceptance of valid blocks by working on extending them and rejecting invalid blocks by refusing to work on them. Any needed rules and incentives can be enforced with this consensus mechanism. Now, this is interesting here. When people think that Bitcoin was created in 2008, 2009, look at the references in this report. We've got B Money, 1998. H. Macias Avila and J.J. Quisquater, design of a secure time-stamping service with minimal trust requirements. And 20th Symposium on Information Theory, that was in 1999. How to timestamp a digital document in Journal of Cryptology, 2 pages. That was in, pages 99 through 111. 1991. Improving the efficiency and reliability of digital timestamping. Are you seeing a trend here? Very big on the digital timestamping thing. Methods in Communication Security and Computer Science, 1993. Secure names for bit strings. Bit strings, almost like Bitcoin, right? In proceeding to the 4th ACM Conference on Computer and Communication Security, this was in April 1997. Hashcash, a denial of service countermeasures. This came out in 2002. Protocols for Public Key Crypto Systems. Symposium on Security and Privacy. April 1980. And then W. Feller, an introduction to probability theory and its applications, 1957. So when we talked about this before, Bitcoin didn't come here overnight. We're talking about a concept that dates back to at least 1957. Now, you conspiracy theorists out there, I'm going to pose the question. I'm not going to answer it. Why is it that human technology exploded after World War II? What was it? Why? What happened? Man walking on the moon. Next you got all the jet planes. You got the modern computers getting started. Why at that point in time did it happen? And then you start to understand the pattern that as each decade moved on and on and on from 1957 to 1998, and then at 1998, see, all of this was already designed. The technology just wasn't there yet. We needed high-speed internet. 2008, 2009. The internet bubble burst. What was it? 1999, 2000, 2001. So it took another 7-8 years from there. Hey, I'm just posting this question. Teresa says you took a computer class in 1981 and they talked in bits, the MS-DOS days. So this isn't something that's brand new. But I wrote down that the word "we" was used 7 times in this white paper. 7 times. Now, that could be used purposely to try to throw everybody off. That is true. But it was noteworthy enough to pay attention to it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Bitcoin white paper that changed the world. Think about that. That 9 pages is going to go down in history as one of the most influential pieces of written work in human history. Those 9 pages. Reading it back now, I understand more than I did the first time around. First several times. I didn't really get it, but I got more this time because I'm understanding more about blockchain technology, how all of this stuff works, and it's fascinating. So let me ask you guys a question. Did that make sense, or are you still lost? Type made sense or lost in the chat box. If it made sense, type made sense. If you lost from it, type lost. The very first time I read the white paper, I only got a bit of it. I didn't understand the full time. It took, I think, the third time I read the white paper, I was like, okay. I get it. I get it. We got some saying both, some saying lost still. Some say it makes sense. Yeah, you read it over and over and over and over again, listen to it over and over and over again. But I have a shortcut. You guys want the shortcut way? Like if I was to read that white paper or I give it to my mom and tell my mom to read it, she's not going to understand that. So I will say, Mom, this is what you want to do. If you want to understand what all that white paper meant and what it was talking about, then you want to register at ilcachallenge.com. ilcachallenge.com. Because when we do the 5-day challenge, I break this down. Day 1, who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Day 2, what is a blockchain? Day 3, what is cryptocurrency? Day 4, how to unlock it, wallets and whatnot. And day 5, the path to becoming a crypto billionaire, plus our guest panelists to share their education and knowledge too. If you go through the 5-day challenge, you will understand this Bitcoin white paper. That's a fact. It's not that hard, but once you know what to look for, you know the wording behind certain things, then it becomes interesting. You make more sense with it. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen, on this Saturday evening. I just wanted to give an opportunity for those that are procrastinators like I am. And I know I got to read the white paper, but I just never really got around to it. If you're that type, and I hope this helped you out where I read it for you. All right, everybody, what's happening next? Nothing tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. Enjoy your day. Don't lift a finger. Let the kids and the husband do it. And then Monday, we'll be back for early morning crypto talk for the Inner Circle members only. Inner Circle members only. Like our crypto talk this morning, I do one on Saturdays. It's open to anybody. Everybody can get it on Saturday. But Monday through Friday is the Inner Circle only. And if you go to ilcasecrets.com, ilcasecrets.com, you can register so that you're part of the crypto talks 5 days a week, 5 days a week for just the community. And then you add a 6th day for Saturday. And I'm taking a quick glance at the crypto market cap just because it is down another 2.5%. Bitcoin is at 35,300. It's still dropping. Still coming down in the free fall here. So we'll see what this looks like Monday morning. All right. So with that, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy Mother's Day. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye-bye.